Hey everybody, this is Semper Fi. So we want to know, where's Nancy Guthrie? Back to the beginning, part 5. That's where we're at. Part 5, where's Nancy Guthrie? Back to the beginning. So we're just waiting for a few people to get on in here and have that discussion. A lot of information still out there that we need to go over. We've covered a lot. We've went ahead and literally covered quite a bit, but there's still a lot to go. And right now, we're just trying to figure out, to try to piece the puzzle to see where everything's at. So at this point, I'm going to wait, get a couple people come in, and we'll start having that conversation so I don't have to regurgitate everything back and forth. You all know backgrounds, several years in law enforcement, investigations, interrogations, translations, you name it, it's been done. So, what I'm trying to do is just give you a perspective from law enforcement as to what could be, what is, what could be things that were missed, what could be things that were, you know, attention wasn't put on, if you will. And that's important because let's face it, mistakes are always made, always made. Okay, no one's perfect, but in the same token, we need to go ahead and try and figure out when mistakes are made, how to fix them. So that's what we're at. This is Semper Fi. We're trying to go ahead and go over. Don't everybody run away, hide in the background. I need you guys out here and have that conversation. So that's where we're at. We covered issues dealing with people of interest. We've covered people who seem to have a higher potential of fitting that narrative. We've covered the front camera. We've covered the front camera and Nancy Guthrie's as far as seeing what the perp was wearing. Not, it's obviously in more of a shade of gray, black and white, but it's what they were able to extract from Nancy Guthrie's camera. So there is quite a bit, and there's a lot more that we can go over to figure out what really happened, what took place. Where is that silver lining of how we can figure out or try to figure out and build those pieces to make that puzzle fit. So that's where we're at. If you're on, tell me where you're from. Northwest Ohio, that's where I'm at. Tell me where you're from, and let's have that conversation. So we've covered everything literally dealing with the fact of potential suspects, potential people of interest. Now, understand these are opinions, and these are what I would consider trying to understand the thinking of who could have done something like this. Now, I can tell you that right now, literally right now, they did find some DNA. As I was reading and go over into some things, they did find some DNA. And it's not the DNA that they came up out a while back that they stated that it was Nancy's. There's other DNA that they found that they're going back. Southern California, a song in my heart. Good to have you. Appreciate you being here. So they have went ahead and literally found DNA that it's at the labs right now being tested. We don't know who it is. We don't know what's it about because they haven't released any information. What we do know is that there is stuff out there. And they are presenting something. They're just not telling us the things that we want to know as to try to gain that support, if you will, and belief that this will eventually come to a point where Nancy Guthrie will be coming home. And that's really what everybody should want. Can't say that's going to happen, but that sure as heck what is a lot of people are praying about. So they did find DNA. Now they are saying that they do believe it was 2 to 4 perps that were involved. They are saying that, no doubt about it. We all hope she comes along. We all hope she comes home. Says my heart. That's very well said, and you're right. We all want to see her come home because we all have moms, grandmothers, family members. We all have people that we care about. That this could have been one of them. So we can all relate to some extent what it means. You know what I mean? We all can understand that. So with that, they have said that they believe, when I say they, the people who are investigating this, that they do believe it is 2 to 4 suspects. I've said it's got to be a minimum of 3. I believe one's a female and 2 are male. But that's just my opinion. No one has said anything about that. Some have suggested that a perp looked like the front perp at the front door looked like a female. Some said no. The eyebrows, the bushy eyebrows with nice clean cut, if you will. Of course, you also have a mustache and a goatee, so I highly doubt that's going to be a woman. However, you never know how sophisticated these people were to go ahead and manipulate a lot of the appearances to make it look like one thing or another. Always keep that in mind. It's not always what you see, it's what you don't see that you have to sometimes put in the equation to get that feeling of what's missing. I think they have now suggested that the eyebrows we are seeing is actually a shadow from the mask. Okay. And that's very possible. Very probable. Here's the thing. A lot of it is you're trying to make sense of everything. And thank you for that. Appreciate that, my heart. That's a lot of things that they're trying to at least center on because that's really the best they got at this point until that DNA comes back. However, there is some things. Yeah, nothing makes sense, no doubt. There is some things that they are looking at 2 to 4 perps. Like I said, I feel that you had one was a female and 2 were male. I don't ask me why. I just have that feeling, and it would make sense to me. One's in the front, one's in the back, and maybe the female's at the front, watching traffic, making sure no one pulls into that driveway. You know, it's just logical. Okay, Nancy Guthrie was a very, as everybody says, or a lot of people who knew her say she was very, she was very feisty. She could put up a little struggle. So, being that she was apparently, as reported, that she was taken from her bedroom, there had to be a struggle because they found blood in the house. They're not saying where they found it, they're just saying they found it. They found some blood in the house. So, to the idea of going ahead and literally trying to figure out, to me, that would make the perfect sense. You don't want too many people involved because that's too many people that you have to literally be careful of not leaking anything out, right? But you have to have enough that's covering every base. Why do we think that she simply walked away? I know she had mobility issues, but she was still able to walk, and she could have been disorientated and walked. I don't think she walked away because I think that somebody would have seen her walking later on. In my opinion, that's not out of the question. First of all, that's not out of the question. But for me, I think somebody would have seen her moving. I think somebody would have seen her out there when they were looking through all the washes somebody would have seen her more than likely. Or she probably, who knows? She might have stayed on the roadside, right? That is a possibility. A very good possibility. Joe Mack says, good afternoon. Good to have you, Joe Mack. Marine from the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico. Arr! Semper Fi, my brother. Good to have you. Appreciate you being here. That's just a little Marine Corps thing that I do. Very true. Yeah. I just think that somebody would have literally seen her walking. And I just really feel like she was taken. In my opinion, this was a ransom, all about money. What worries me is that this could have gone wrong quickly. And I've already told you guys earlier, this is the 5th part of this series, going back to the beginning. Okay, this is the 5th part of, and I told you in the 4th part what I thought my theory was. And until I'm able to ascertain that information that is very crucial, that I can't seem to find anywhere. The car that Luke Daly owned, when did it crash? When was it totaled? Can't find that anywhere. Don't even know if there's even a report of it. The neighbor said that the insurance company towed it away to declare whether it was a total loss. Who was the tow company? Who was the insurance company? I want to know this because I think it's very, very crucial. Trying to pinpoint the time is so crucial. The only thing I'm finding out is that they're saying this happened literally before the 13th of February. Well, the 13th of February, if you know, is when Luke Daly and his mother were literally given a search warrant to search the property and Luke Daly's Range Rover. Okay, but what I want to know is when did he buy that Range Rover? They said sometime after Nancy was taken. Well, shit, was that the 5th, the 6th, the 7th? And it's important to know, because then you ask what and when did his blue car that he crashed, and I'll get to why, because you guys already know why the blue car, wasn't it reported that it was totaled? I mean, most insurance companies are going to want you to have literally some type of police report, right, stating what happened, right? They're going to say, hey, well, you need to go ahead and report that so we can have something on file that will state what happened. I just can't imagine an insurance company you're going to call and say, hey, I went ahead and totaled my vehicle. I need you guys to come get it, and so that I can go ahead and get another vehicle. They're going to want a report number. There's going to be a case number with it. I've worked many cases like that. You got to have a case number. But apparently there is none. So the question then becomes, well, when did it happen? Because you got to remember, during this time when Nancy Guthrie was taken, you have to remember, there was a blue vehicle that went by the house, relatively speeding through, okay, that went by. It's on one of the cams of the homes. And this car was blue in color. And they did say that there was a woman hanging out the window yelling for help. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, that's got to be looked at. Even though they said that they made contact with the people in the vehicle, when did they make contact? From the time of the 911 call to the time when they actually, was it 25? Was it 35? Was it 45 minutes? We know they take like sometimes 20, 25 minutes to get out there to that area, right? The sheriff's department. So when did they make contact? And who was all in the vehicle? Was it 3 people? Was it 2 people? Was it a man and a woman? Was it 2 men and a woman? Because I told you my theory. I can see it happen exactly how I stated it. This car very well could have had, in my opinion, the victim in the car. And as this person is screaming for help, Someone says, shut her up. She's making too much noise. Somebody hits her. Her heart can't take it. She's carrying a pacemaker. She has a pacemaker on. Her heart can't take it. All of a sudden, oh my God, I don't think she's breathing. Next thing you know, oh, she's not breathing. Oh, we got to do something. Everybody starts panicking. They find a quick little spot, dump her off, maybe, just a little hole type deal. Put her in there, get the hell out and Dodge. They know where she's at. They get out and Dodge. They're doing their thing, thinking what they're going to do now, because that was their whole purpose, their ticket, their meal ticket. That was their ransom money. And everybody knows when you do a ransom, you got to have a proof of life. No one's going to give you money if you don't have a proof of life. And what did they not provide at no time? A proof of life. Was it because they didn't have one to provide? So my theory is that they took off. Now, I need to know, when exactly did the 911 call come in and when did that car get stopped? Because Pima County did say they found the vehicle and it was just a verbal domestic or a domestic of whatnot. They did say that it had nothing to do with the case. Okay. Well, yeah, because, think about it. You're the officer. You walk up to the car. You have your flashlight. You say, hey, we got a report. Someone yelling from the car for help. Oh, I'm sorry, officer. We got into an argument. Blah, 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 blah. It's nothing. We're fine. No one. It was a stupid argument. Officer looks in, sees a female, sees two males, or sees a male and a female, and says, okay, everybody's good. No marks, no nothing. No, sir. We just, we're just literally passing through, and we're driving, even though it's 2:30, 2:20 in the morning, and who in the hell takes a ride at 2:30 in the morning, 2:20 in the morning? Okay, so the officer says, okay, calls it in. You got to remember, it's early in the morning, right? A lot of things are not clicking yet. Officer calls in, says, hey, located the vehicle. Everything's good to go. No physical contact, just a verbal dispute. They only saw, what, 2 people, 3 people in the vehicle? Was that because that other person was taken out right away? If they took 25, 35, 45 minutes to finally locate this vehicle, man, that's more than enough time. Literally, that's more than enough time to put somebody out. Quick little shallow hole, put them in there, come back maybe 2, 3 in the morning, not 2, 3 in the morning, maybe like 5 in the morning, come by, pick that person back out, throw them in the trunk, take them out somewhere, and then really bury them. I know it sounds shitty and sounds horrible, but that is very probable. I could see that happen, no doubt. In my opinion, I could see that happen. So that's why the timing is so important, to figure out what time did they stop the vehicle, how many people were in that vehicle. Is that a coincidence? Do we really think that that's a coincidence? So all this stuff that's happening that night on that day of February the 1st is a coincidence. I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. But that's where my theory is at. Okay? And I haven't heard anybody talk about that. It just boggles my mind. The car, the blue Dodge Charger that was there at the home of Luke Daly that was crashed, was at the house at the time when they served the warrant. Did anybody check the vehicle? I don't know. They never said. The tow truck came, picked the vehicle up, and took it. Did anybody go back and check for DNA, check for fingerprints, check for anything that's in that vehicle? We don't even know who took it. We don't know what record took it. We don't know who the insurance company is. You understand what I'm saying? It just doesn't make sense. And because we're getting very, very little bit of information, and I understand this is a serious case, a lot of people involved, okay? This is a high-profile case, okay? It's going to get national attention. I get it. but just a little bit of insight would go a long way. Tell me what you all think, everybody. Joe Max says probably, unfortunately, deceased. Yeah, I agree, Joe. I think that. I think it's pretty much that, deceased. You know, I don't know how, but I do believe she's deceased. Now, would I love to see her come home, walk to her front door, come on in to her family? Absolutely. Who wouldn't? Who, with a right mind and a soul, would not want her to be safe and come home eventually to her family? That just goes without saying. I just fear that there's a lot more there that is going to be very hard for that to happen. Sama Heart says, I have a very strange theory. What if someone wanted to delay an inheritance by the 5 years it takes to declare someone dead who would benefit from another person not receiving money? That's possible. I feel strongly that this is about money. I feel strongly that this is all about money. Okay? So I just this and even the investigators don't believe that this was a spontaneous thing. This was planned. This was targeted. It is pretty obvious this was targeted. You had to know the layout. You had to know where everything was, where the cameras were. You had to know those things. It's crucial. You just had to know them. And even then, you had to still be careful. Otherwise, you'd break your ankles trying to get around the house with all them rocks everywhere. You all seen the terrain. So, very possible. Very possible that they didn't want some person to get the money and they're willing to wait those 5 years. I hate to say it, but look what they're doing now. You're seeing the house be redone. You're seeing electrical. You're seeing more cameras put in. Almost like somebody's getting ready to move in. Could it be Annie and Tomasco? Are they going to put their house for sale so that they can move in? And if mom ever comes back, then, hey, we take care of mom. But they want to make sure that it's secured. Is that a possibility? Of course it is. So, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. That, yes, it could definitely be something like that. Because you're right. It's going to take a while before they're able to declare her deceased. No doubt about it. Do we know when it was totaled? No. See, that's the problem. No one is giving it a time or day. No one is giving a record of anything when that car was totaled. I have no idea. I've looked everywhere. I have reached out to other people, asked them, hey, do you have any this, that, the other? And nobody seems to have that answer. Now, I'm telling you, working in law enforcement, in any accident, I'm talking any simple accident, you call your insurance, they're going to want a report. They're going to say, go call the cops, have them come out there and do the report so we have it on file. I don't know about you all, but that's how I've done it. That's how people have come to me when I've said, hey, what record you want us to call? Well, let me call my insurance. And then this is what they tell them. Okay? So it doesn't make sense that all of a sudden they're just going to show up, pick up the vehicle, take it, and that's the end of that. Now, I'm going to get to why that's important. I'm going to tell you why that's important. Because it goes with the pattern of everything else that's happening. Song says, was the woman hanging out of the window screaming one of the perps, but thought it was only a robbery when it became a murder? She became against them. I don't know. All I know, yeah, that's a very good point. A very good point. Remember, there had to be chaos. If it was the vehicle, there had to be chaos. Because that probably was not in the plan, if in fact it came out to be. And that, once again, understand, I'm just telling you from what I perceive could have happened. And it's very, very interesting when you look at it from that perspective. Okay? So, yeah, very, very good point. Could it have been the woman that said that should have never happened? That wasn't planned, blah, 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 blah? Very possible. Very possible. Very, very possible. Good question. Song says maybe they passed her off to and that is another thing. You know, we also seen what? We also heard a lot about what? A white Kia Soul vehicle. A white Kia Soul driving fast by there. And we can cover that too because there is some stuff that has come out about a white Kia Soul. And we'll cover that here in a second. There is a lot of missing information. There is a lot of information missing. No doubt about it. The statement from the family sounds like they're speaking of someone who is deceased. I mean, look, when something like this happens, a crime like this of this magnitude happens, you have about 24, 48, maybe if you're lucky, 72 hours before everything starts changing. In other words, your chances of success starts to really fall, okay? Everything changes. The percentages of finding this person not deceased really drops. So the reason I say that is because, yes, I would have to say that they have to feel that that's probably what happened. She was on medication. She had to take her medication. No one knows if she had her medication. She didn't take it the night she was taken back home by her son-in-law, supposedly as reported, Tomasco Sioni. She didn't take her pill. Maybe she thought, did she even make it to her house? I mean, think about that. Did she even make it back to her home? I know it sounds crazy, and I hate to think that anything of a family member would have something to do with this. But think about it. Did she even make it home? Why do I say that? There's no camera pictures or no videos, nothing that is there that they have presented to show that Tomasco Sicilioni went ahead and arrived. All they have is that the garage door opened at some time. You can figure out that a garage door opened, but you cannot see a car leaving. A car with lights that's got to be so bright when they pull into the driveway. Okay? Think about that. And then when that car leaves, what do? You hit your brakes to make sure as you get onto the main road, your brake lights come on. But nothing could get that caption, get that picture. Seriously? And then no other cameras along the roadway would even get that vehicle of his. Did anybody ask him what route he took to go home? Did anybody ask him, hey, what route did you go by, so that they could backtrack and they could start asking people for their video, feeds, so that they could see exactly if they could see that car going by. Little businesses. What? We don't even know. Hell, we don't even know what she was wearing. You follow what I'm saying? There is a lot that either was done that we just don't know, or that was totally the ball was dropped. I don't know. I don't know what to think. Because I do, as a law enforcement officer, I do find a lot of things that are just not making sense, and things that I would expect anybody in law enforcement to be able to do. I'm not seeing it. Very good question. Celtic Pat says, good day. Good day, Celtic Pat. I love that, Celtic Pat. A song in my heart says he might not have had insurance. Well, if he didn't have insurance, then why would the neighbor say that the insurance company came and took his vehicle? Because the neighbor is the one that reported that, right? So if he didn't have insurance, now how would the neighbor know? Well, they're neighbors, right? I'm sure they talked. Man, what happened to your car? Oh, man, you won't believe this, but I told her this. Well, it's obvious. What happened? that conversation, right? Yeah, I called the insurance and they're going to be coming by and seeing if it's a total loss. So I'm assuming that there was a conversation between neighbors at some point. I don't know, but I'm just assuming. Okay? So if he didn't have insurance, well, I mean, Range Rovers are not cheap. They're pretty expensive, right? So how did this all pan out? But here's another question. Deborah K. James is in the house. How are you doing, Deborah? Good to have you. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new, click like, subscribe. Don't have to do anything else. Doesn't cost you nothing. Just helps build our channel and helps us have this conversation. Because I believe me, there's going to be many more conversations we're going to be having. Saltapeg says, what about the renters who moved out? Yeah, that's another thing, but I'll get to that one here in a second. I'll get to that. Promise, Celtic Pat. I will get to that. But right now, we're dealing with literally, did he have insurance? Well, the neighbor knew. If the neighbor knew, somebody had to tell him. I'm assuming he told him. And look, I'm not saying Luke did this. I'm not saying Luke did it all. I'm not saying Luke was a part. I'm just telling you a scenario that I can see happen. No doubt in my mind, I could see this happen. But I'm not going to say the man's guilty because I don't know. I'm just giving you a theory like every other swinging individual is giving you. A song says her Apple Watch or Fitbit that she was wearing when she got home would have spiked if she was afraid. They should be able to see her heart rate and steps before she took her watch off. Well, true. If she made it home, true. The garage door open doesn't mean anybody has to walk in it, right? I mean, it's possible, it's probable that was all going through the motions to make it seem like one thing or another, right? So we don't even know if she made it home. But they did say that there was a spike in her. Now I just went brain dead. In her heart monitor, you know, what do you call that? Now I just went dead. I apologize. She had a pacemaker. Her pacemaker went ahead and had a spike in it. So they do know that. But it could have been, pacemaker, thank you. It could have been that's what happened, you know. Then again, it could have been that she never made it, right? I mean, here's the thing. There's just not enough information. So it is just a theory. No doubt. It is just a theory. And I thought, didn't they say her Fitbit or her watch, Apple Watch, was left behind on the dresser or something to that effect? I'm not sure if they covered that or not. I heard that somewhere. Celtapec says yes. Okay, so I thought I heard that somewhere. Song says, most older people take their watches off at night. She would have been still wearing hers when she spike was seen. What time was this? Well, that's the thing. We're not getting any time. She was dropped off. Apparently, her son-in-law, Tomasco Siccione, drove her home at approximately 9:30, somewhere in there, 9:30-ish, Arizona time. So apparently he drove her home. Apparently it took 2 minutes for her to get to the garage door. The garage door opened. Apparently it took 2 minutes for her to walk to her door, and then the garage door closed as reported, and then supposedly he left. The problem is everything is supposedly and nothing is factual because we don't have any pictures of him arriving or him leaving. I'm not saying he did anything. I'm just saying that's literally the complex of this whole dilemma. The FBI would have her watch, and also her pacemaker has a different source of her movements and heart rate. Correct. And they went over that. there was nothing that they said that she had that could give any more information other than that spike. And then it just stopped. They said it just stopped, like it was deactivated, like it was stopped. Because, well, as some has suggested, at that point she was deceased. If the heart's not pumping, then the pacemaker is not acknowledging the heart, because that's what it's there for, right? When the heart stops, it kicks you. It's like a little Kickstarter. So that would mean that it just stopped. And they said it stopped at such and such time, but they didn't give the time. You know what I mean? If a person dies with a pacemaker, the pacemaker is still active. You would think, I would think it's still active because, right, the batteries last like 10 years or something like that. So yeah, I agree. It would make sense that it would still be active. But that's not what they're saying. I mean, there's a lot of misconfusion on how it works. I've heard a lot of people who work in the nursing and who work in this type of cardio with pacemakers and whatnot. They have come on and they have talked about literally how if the heart is not functioning and it stops and the pacemaker goes to kick it on and it doesn't kick on, eventually the pacemaker stops. I guess it just depends on who you talk to get that information, but I've heard a lot of people say those things and similar, contradictory, and some, exactly what you're saying. Yeah, I'm not an expert on anything when it comes to pacemakers. I can just tell you that's what was the discussion, because that was brought up, that couldn't the pacemaker still have like a tracking device where they would be able to go ahead and locate it? Because I guess every pacemaker, someone had said every pacemaker has some type of a signal or something, or have some type of a mark, and they would be able to literally tap into something and be able to see where it's at. But apparently, no, it was off. It was off. What does that mean? I don't know. I mean, I don't even want to begin to think what that means. You know, I think you know where I'm going with that. Yeah, the ping. It's just stop pinging with another source. Correct. Celtic Pet says you would think, no doubt. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say this stuff. I heard a lot of people say this. And it's just it's almost like who's the last person talking. That's that's the last thing everybody goes with, because but everybody has come, they're all within the same context, just some are just a very very little bit of variances. And then there's different types of pacemakers, right? There is different types of pacemakers. So that also, we don't even know what type it was. I mean, there is different types that do different things. I don't know, but I know that we're not getting no information. Celtic Pet says nothing makes sense. No doubt. I am with you, Celtic Pet. Nothing is making sense in this case. And for someone in what I used to do in my line of work, it makes no sense. I mean, this case would drive me crazy, literally. Because, well, first of all, you can't let it get to this point. Because when time is wasted, minutes are crucial. It is very crucial. You can't get back those lost minutes. It's just a fact. Song says, guess the only reliable evidence of who saw her last is the Uber driver footage. Well, technically, the Uber driver was the one who drove her, and I think they said they located the Uber driver. They did talk to him. And they cleared him, apparently. I'm not sure how, but they cleared him. But technically, Annie Tomasco has said that Tomasco took her back home. So technically, Tomasco was the last one, her son-in-law, to see her, alive, if you will, for better lack of words. So then we know for sure that she arrived at Annie's and Tomasco. Yes, She was there. They had dinner. She stayed there till about, because they interviewed Tomasco and Annie, and they said that they were there for about till about 9:30, from 6:30 to about 9:30 or so, somewhere in there, and then uh, Tomasco went ahead and took her home. So he would have been the last person that would have seen her. You see why it's so complex? It just There's just so much not there. So you have to look at it and start putting in a piece and taking out a piece. It's not what you always see. Sometimes it's what you don't see. And sometimes it's right in front of you and we can't just see it because we're caught up in all this other stuff. But Tomasco B in the last one is hearsay. We don't have any proof, do we yet, that Tomasco and Annie have doorbell footage of their home? I don't think they do. I think somebody asked about that. I don't think they have doorbell cameras or whatnot, like a Ring camera or something similar to it. I don't think they have one. From my understanding, I don't think they have any of that because you're right. If he's leaving, his camera would have picked it up, right? But I don't think they had any Ring cameras in their home. Don't ask me why. I just don't think they did. And I think I heard that they didn't have any. So the hearsay really is Tomasco is the one, they're the ones that said Tomaso took her home. So, I mean, they're telling you, I took her home. I was basically the last one to see her. Please don't take what I write as aggressive. I'm totally relaxed. No, you're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. I appreciate all the comments because this helps people understand a lot of stuff that's going on. You're fine. The idea is that there's just not a lot of information that we can literally grab onto and go. So consequently, we have to try to figure on what pieces we put and what pieces we take out. Yeah, no, I wasn't even taking anything that you were being aggressive or whatnot. The idea is that is probably by their own saying, their own testimony, meaning Annie and Tomasco, that he was the one that took her home. So I don't know. I just asked the question, why is there any video of any of this? Why is there, I mean, they got videos of cars passing by, right? They got videos of cars zooming by, the white Kia Soul, the blue car that went by. They have pictures of that, but they don't have pictures of Tomasco pulling in or leaving or getting close to arriving. I don't know how they square that, to be honest. I really don't. I really don't. Saltepec. Saltepec says, I heard the sheriff used Google for the photo in front of Nancy's door. I believe he used it. So I wonder if they truly have any photos. Yeah, supposedly they went to Google this product that Annie had. Apparently, they went to Google and they were able to tap into it because Nancy did not have a subscription for her Ring camera. She did not have a subscription. So somebody had to know that. However, news to me, they do still record. Go figure. And that happened. It was recorded. So they were able to go through some back channels with Google, and they were able to go deep weeds in the computer realm that's totally out of my element and literally pull those pictures out. You see what I'm saying? So that's how they got those pictures. It wasn't that her camera per se actively saved it because she didn't have a subscription. It was that they had Google go through the back door of some sort, as they call it, and literally pull that information out. Very interesting. Petro says a lot of things with a lot of faces and emojis and cactuses. Good to have you. It is a nightmare, no doubt. No doubt. Good to have you. Appreciate you being here. Saltapec, there should be more photos. Look, if you can get some photos of the perp in front of a door, okay, why can't you get photos of the son-in-law pulling up, dropping off his mother-in-law, and or leaving? I mean, what is it? I mean, I don't understand that. How can nobody get any other photos? Just those. Then later they came out that there was actually some photos that was gathered by the cameras in the back. But you still don't have any photos of her arriving at her home. I mean, and then you as a sheriff are able to what? Have a briefing and say, I cleared all the family. The family has been cleared. How? See, that I think that's what frustrates most of the people. You know, comments like that. Let me tell you right now, if I was working a case like that, ain't nobody getting cleared until either Nancy is found or we have exhausted every possible thing possible. And it's going to take a lot longer than 50 days to determine that. That I can tell you. So to come out and just say, oh, I mean, we can all pretty much surmise that Savannah was probably not there. She was in New York, right? She had her family, her husband, her two kids, etc. So we can pretty much surmise that she wasn't there. But everybody else? No, 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 no. And if you're not going to literally clear everybody else, you can't clear anybody. That's just crazy. Talk about boxing yourself in a corner. You know, that's just unheard of. I've never seen it. Let's just put it that way. Celtic Pet says there should be more photos. I totally agree, Celtic Pet. You are spot on. Very spot on. And thank you for those nice yellow hearts. Appreciate that. But that's what I'm saying. I don't get literally how some of these things, of course they were for Nancy. I didn't think they were for me. Thank you so much there, Celtic Pet. Joke. But you know what I'm saying? I don't think that there's a lot of stuff literally that's happening. I don't think that there was a lot of stuff that was done that should have been done. I don't think there's a lot of stuff happening that should have happened. You know, there isn't. Now let's get to a little bit more. Let's move on to a couple other things. And if you got any questions, anybody in here has any questions or any comments, or you want to, throw something out, by all means, please. That's what I'm doing this for. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what your theories are. And believe me, I don't take anything offensive. I know we're just trying to figure this out, but here's the thing, we're all trying to figure it out. I don't have all the answers. I can just give you how law enforcement works, and how I can use my knowledge to be able to try to explain it maybe a little bit better than an average podcaster, or an average person who, you know what I'm saying. So I'm trying to just give you as much as I can. And if you're in here and you like the stream, do me a favor. Click like. Don't stop hitting those like buttons. And subscribe for free, man. It doesn't cost you anything. Because I really enjoy your all's conversation. Celtipec says, I feel like I saw a photo in the first week of Nancy in her home. A side view with a perp behind her. But now I can't find that photo anywhere. Interesting, Celtic Pet. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't doubt it. And it probably is something that they didn't want to get out if in fact they did show it. If anybody knows what Celtic Pet is talking about, as in literally, she's saying that she believed on the very first week that they had showed the inside of the home, and that there was a perp standing there in a side view with a perp behind her. Yeah, if anybody knows anything about that, please let me know, because that would be something that we haven't heard at all, you know. But yeah, let me know what you all think. Nancy was walking past the video. Interesting. I will definitely look into that and see what we can find. If anybody else knows of anything like that, please let me know. Just was insane. No, that'd be crazy. But to see it once and then not see it again, that would be even crazier, in my opinion. So, yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Thank you for that comment, Celtic Pat. So now you have this group of people that lived in this house above that was an Airbnb and or rental. Now they all left literally the day after Nancy was apparently literally abducted. Whether it was January 31st, early or late in the evening, going into Sunday, which would have been February 1st. So either December 31st to February 1st. Okay? I'm sorry, January 31st to February 1st. Okay? So that would have been interesting, no doubt. So these three people who left, I mean, they got out and dodged. They left. And now the old thing is, did they have something to do with this? Who were they? Were they living there? How long they stayed there? But no one's like giving out any information on who they are. I mean, even I haven't heard anything with the sheriff saying, yeah, there was three people that lived there. They apparently moved out the day after Nancy was abducted. Yada yada yada. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't understand that. They are people that you want to track down because they may have that information. No doubt about it. A song says it is possible that that photo was AI. It is very possible. No doubt about it. You're talking about Celtics pets. Common. Yes, I agree. It's very possible. Celtic says, I could have swore I saw it on the news on my cable network. Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But the three individuals that were up on the hill, they were staying in an Airbnb rental. And they got up and got ghost quickly. Now think about that. Was their lease up ironically at the same time? Were they, was this something that was they were using? I mean, I know some investigators have talked about, or should I say, people who are investigating this have talked about possibly could have been used as a way to literally map out and keep an eye on what goes on in Nancy's house, using it as kind of like a watching area, a staging area, if you will. I don't know, but that has been brought up, and that has been brought up by investigators. Matter of fact, that's one of their theories. But no one's talking about the individuals. And then to come out, and then it was reported that one of those individuals is literally driving around still in that neighborhood, driving around, literally driving around. Almost like, how they always say a perp always comes back to the scene of the crime? Something like that. We haven't heard anything about anybody being stopped. We haven't heard about have they or have they not talked to this individual? I think I heard a report that one of the individuals went into Mexico and got out and dodged, but the other two are still in the United States. I don't know. That is just what I heard. A song says, just want her to come home. Amen. I totally agree. I'm with you. I'm with you. I totally believe that. I think, everyone can relate to what if it was one of your loved ones. That is, yeah, no doubt about it, without a doubt. Celtic Pack says, yes, bring her home. Erwin Curtis is in the house. Thanks for serving our country. You got it, my friend. You got it. It was my honor to serve. No doubt about it. Loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. But thank you for being here. I appreciate it. So, yeah, I mean, so these people are literally people that are high people of interest. Why are we not hearing about what's going on with them? Why can't we get who was living there? I mean, why can't we get who owned that property? I mean, public records, doesn't that mean anything anymore? A song says he probably has a YouTube. He probably does. He probably does have a YouTube channel. I mean, my God, here's the latest, and I'll just throw this in here real quick because I know we're working for the beginning. But here, just today, they found two signs, literally, that were put literally in front of Nancy's home that are, it's like chicken scratch writing, but basically talking about, I don't know, mentioning just several names. You have to see it. I wouldn't do you justice if I try to tell you. But the idea is that somebody put those signs there last night. And it just has something like Nancy Guthrie and some other lady who apparently was unalived, something by poisoning in that area. I mean, it's just like all these theories, these conspiracy theories they're all over the place. And a lot of it is because the sheriff's department won't give us a little bit of what the hell's going on. Erwin says Savannah Guthrie has a net worth of $30 million. She can hire a high-level team of ex-military to find. I agree. Look, I'll tell you right now, and I tell you this as the Lord is my witness, if I have gone through this, there would be no rock unturned. None. Zero. I mean, I heard earlier when I did a live earlier, I heard about how that they weren't allowing people to search, that you had to get a permit. No. That may be true. No doubt about it. I'm not denying that because I think I've even heard that something about that you had to go get a permit and then they could deny you having a permit. And I would like to think that that was like big organizations, big organizations that come out for stuff, for stuff like this, that go ahead and literally, are doing massive, you're talking hundreds of people out there. But if I'm looking for my loved one, I'm going to look for my loved one. And there ain't no damn paper that's going to stop. Now, I have to understand that I have to respect other people's property, private property. I can't just go on people's property. But that goes without saying. But if you are literally wanting to search, what are they going to do? Arrest you? They're going to arrest you because I'm here trying to find Nancy Guthrie? Give me a break. That's not going to fly. At least it wouldn't fly for me anyway. Just saying. I like following the law. I believe we need to follow the law. I believe we need to respect the law. I've been there, done that. I've been a part of the law. But in the same token, I've never heard of something so crazy like that. But good question there. You're right. Or not so much a question, a statement, Aaron. You're right, Erwin. She does. And hell, I thought she was like in the $40 million net worth. But 30, 40, hey, who's counting? Celtic Pet says, I am shocked it wasn't a gated neighborhood. Yeah, that kind of surprised me too. That really surprised me. You would have thought that this was literally going to be something where, literally a gated community. I mean, this community, you couldn't even have lights put up there by like your streets and stuff, these big lights. That was forbidden. You couldn't do it. That was against the rules. Why everybody wanted it so dark, I don't know. Maybe to hide, they just wanted peaceful at night. I don't blame them. But when something goes wrong like this, damn, I wish there was a lot of lights out there, right? I mean, goes without saying. Celtic Pat, the sky. Yeah, that's about all that's out there is the sky, no doubt. The sky and the perps. So, why haven't we heard anything about these three individuals that lived in this house? Now, getting back to why I am so adamant about this blue vehicle. Well, that blue vehicle has a lot to play in here. And the understanding of the time frames are very, very important and crucial. The white soul that also passed by, somebody talked about handing off like Nancy to another vehicle. That's very probable. I mean, we know there was a white Kia Soul that went there through there. Now, the reason I bring the white Kia Soul is because there was a person of interest who was trying to get about half a mile or a little bit somewhere in that area that lived away from where Nancy lived in the same area, just a half a mile away, was trying to get into the back of this yard. And the owners called the police. The police came out. There's videos on it on YouTube. The police came out. They made a contact with the individual, and apparently they liked what he had to say. So, they called it in and said, everything's good to go. Now, this was Doug. Doug going live. If you Google him, you'll be able to find him. Doug going live. Man, he had some really good footage. But what they showed us at first was just a picture like this, okay, or a video of like that, of what he was doing, walking to the fence, trying to climb up, trying to unlatch it. He had a hard time, well, because it wasn't his house, okay? So then all of a sudden when that happened, when he starts to leave, they show him walking, and you think there's a car like right by the fence. You think he's going to that car, but he passes it and keeps walking. Well, Doug, he enhances his video. He enhances it, widens it. And guess what's over there towards where the guy is walking, that person of interest? There's a white Kia Soul parked right there. Literally. And you see it clear as day. I don't know. It's just crazy. And once again, we get back to all this is just a coincidence. The white Kia Soul, the blue car, everything that was going by, the lady screaming, everything, all at the same time, around the same time that Nancy was abducted. That's too much coincidence, everybody. In my opinion, that's way too much coincidence. So that's why I was bringing up the Kia Soul. That guy that Doug enhanced the picture, you could see his face clear as day. In color. In color. Not living color, but in color. And only if you're old, you're going to understand what in living color is. It's literally in color. If they could take that face and try to use a face recognition, they could probably get something, especially now with AI, or they could definitely track this individual down. Because here's what happened. When that guy left, the owners had come out and stated that guy never lived there. See, apparently he had told, from what was reported, he had told the deputy or whoever came out there, whatever police officer came out there, or a deputy, I think usually it's deputies, but whoever came out there, he had told him he was trying to get into the back of his house. He was coming back from work and yada, yada, yada at 1:52 a.m. And apparently whatever he had to say was good enough, so they, let him go. Only to find out later that the homeowner said that person never lived here. That person doesn't live here. Da 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 da. Get what I'm saying? It's like, hello, like what the hell just happened here? The owner came out and said nothing ever happened. This guy was not living here. He was trying to get into our home. So now you really got to look at that person as a big time person of interest. Look, I can believe in some coincidences. I just cannot believe in that many coincidences under what just happened. Celtic Pet says, how is it so many people have seen so much, but the police have nothing? See, and I think a lot of it is, I know they're keeping stuff to themselves because it's a way to identify when you're really talking to a potential suspect, a perp. I get it. But there's also that you want to make sure the public understands that you're doing everything you possibly can. And sometimes you want to give them something so that they don't lose faith in the people that are there that are supposed to be protecting them. And so, yeah, this is a drop ball by a lot of people, especially the sheriff. I don't blame him for everything, but I do say he could have done things differently. And I guess he was asked, would he done everything differently or something to that effect, or it was something like that. And it was like, no, no. I mean, come on. Of course everybody would have done. Everybody, hell. If you're investigating something and you say, oh no, there was nothing I would have done different. Come on. That's just a little being a little naive. And for somebody in that position who is an elected official, they should never have that type of information. How is it so many? Okay, we covered that. The street should have been closed off to the public. Now that's another thing that bothers me. Nancy Guthrie's home literally should have literally been cordoned off. You know what I'm saying? David, oh well, thank you, David. Appreciate that. You're a good guy. So yeah, that literally house and that property line literally of Nancy should have been all cordoned off. All cordoned off. They should have blocked that off. Hell, for that matter, they could have blocked that road off a lot quicker than before. Saltepes says, oh, look, it's David the Karen. Very interesting. Yeah, pretty much. David the Karen. But you know what I'm saying? They didn't have to let all those people there. Literally. Celtic Pet says, everyone say hi to David. David the Karen. Unreal. But you know what I'm saying? They should have cordoned it off. They should have blocked it off. There was really no crime scene tape around that whole property line, and there should have been. And people should have not been allowed to literally cross those lines. O.J. Simpson, the great running back, Buffalo Bills, Southern Cal. Hello, good to have you. Good to have you, O.J. But you know what I'm saying? Literally, they should have put that crime scene tape all around it, and they didn't. It doesn't matter that they have a deputy that's sitting in his truck, okay, watching that place. That doesn't matter. You still should have, man, they should have done a lot of things different. And that's just common sense. Just common sense, my opinion. Common sense. Okay. Everybody other than David, if you like the live, subscribe, like. Don't need to do anything. Doesn't cost you anything. Just lets us have this conversation. How you doing, OJ? So that's really what's where we're at. But I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything about this potential, literally, person of interest on this guy that was trying to get behind the fence. I haven't heard anything. Has anybody heard anything about him? Has anybody heard anybody trying to follow up on him? Has anybody heard the sheriff's department trying to question him, trying to figure out who he is? And this is what gives the people literally that feeling of the anxiety, the feeling of literally losing hope for what this department is supposed to be there for the people. And you can't blame them. You cannot blame them at all. I mean, it's no doubt about it. So anybody got any questions so far? Anybody's got any opinions other than David? Has anybody got any other opinions? Anybody's got any takes? Have you heard anything new? Anybody? So that's the latest with that 3 individuals living at the top of the house and the person of interest who was trying to get over the fence. So now we move on. Okay. Now they had done apparently it's been reported by some that the FBI was going to a place that Nancy and Savannah and Annie had gone to eat a lot. And it was a restaurant called, oh God, what the hell was it called? What was it called? Warhelio's. I'm going to know the name as soon as I think it. Warhelio's. It's some Mexican restaurant, supposed to be really good. But apparently they went there to eat. So apparently the FBI, they found these gloves, okay, close by. They checked the DNA of the gloves, and it came back the DNA to somebody who worked at this restaurant. It came back to somebody who worked at this restaurant. So apparently the DNA did on these black gloves that were found. So apparently they were going back and forth constantly to this restaurant to have interview of some people there. Now, when people have gone there to ask questions about, hey, did they talk to you about Nancy Guthrie when she was here and blah, 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 some are saying no. Some are saying, oh, no, I don't think so. No one's come here. And then some had said, yeah. So, I mean, once again, it goes to whoever you're talking to last, literally. But this restaurant was literally a Mexican restaurant where the Guthrie family would always go, especially Nancy, Savannah, and Annie. And so there was a lot of information there about, was it somebody from there? Was it somebody from there that did this? Because they found the gloves with the DNA linked back to somebody who worked at this restaurant. I don't know, but I haven't heard nothing. See, that's the problem. That's the problem. They haven't heard anything. We haven't heard nothing about this. Now, Sheriff could have done an interview. He could have done a press conference and said, look, as reference to gloves that were found, we were able to pick up some information, some DNA. However, we tracked it down to where we believe it came from, and everything checked out the way it was supposed to. Everything was checked out, just so that people can say, "Hey, what did they do about the gloves?" Oh, they went down there, they investigated it, and it came out to be a nothing burger. Okay, at least they checked it out. But that's what gives people, citizens, hope. That's what gives them the hope that law enforcement is there for them, literally. You know what I'm saying? So it is crucial. You don't have to give a lot. You don't have to say a lot. You don't have to talk about all this little into the weed stuff. You can say something simple as that. You're not compromising the case. And hell, if anything, you are potentially letting other people let their guard down to make that mistake. Look, all it takes is that little nugget to be able to crack this whole case. And do I think it will eventually be cracked? I would like to think I do, and I would like to hope that I do. And honestly, I think they are working behind the scenes. But the methodology that they're using as far as keeping everything quiet, it's not helping anybody. It's just not helping anybody, especially the people that still live there around that area. So we covered that. We covered the guy at the fence. We covered that Mexican restaurant. We covered, I can't think of the name, but I thought it was like Rahilio's or something like that. Could be wrong, but it's one of the big restaurants. I guess it's one of the well-known, top-of-the-line restaurants that's there. I just can't think of the name of it. If anybody knows the name, by all means, please just share it. Um, just going brain dead here with that. So that's what's going on there. Now, moving on, a lot of these podcasters, crime junkies, as I call them, not anything derogatory, it's just crime junkies, people who really get into the crime aspects of it. A lot of them are there in front of the house, and some of them are there still reporting, trying to keep the story alive because, you don't want the story to die. Okay, you don't want the story to go away. You don't want this to become a cold case. And kudos to them for doing that. But I think also we have to understand that people also, at some point, can want to get a little bit back to a normalcy, even though it's not good what happened. You know, I mean, you had so many people there, right? And then it's now dwindling down to very little. And hey, kudos for these people that are coming from California still. Some podcasters are coming from California, some are coming from Florida, some are coming from, oh, several coming from California. Some are coming from different parts. Hell, they had one guy coming from Tennessee. I mean, the idea that you're going to take the time, the money to come out here says a lot about your character or says a lot about what you want to know, you know? So kudos to them. But I can understand why the neighbors are really wanting not so much closure. I mean, you can be normal and want closure when you just want to end everything and not don't care about your neighbor that was abducted. That's ridiculous. Okay, I mean they're your neighbors for God's sake. But I can understand why they feel overwhelmed as well. Okay, I can see it. I understand it. I get it. And I think that needs to be taken in consideration by podcasters who are there. Look, I'm all for it. You want to go there and search? Man, there's a guy named Jim. Jim goes live. And I'm telling you what, that man brings his truck from California, jumps into his truck, literally takes his dirt bike out, and he starts hauling butt, checking out literally the area. And that is awesome. I mean, no one's paying for his gas. No one's paying for his lodging. I mean, this man has got a heart of gold, as far as I'm concerned. And his name is Jim, and he literally does one hell of a job. But he goes out there and he looks and you know, and there's other people that do that, that look like, there's a guy out there named Mark, and he goes out there and he takes his drone and he's looking out there. And what I'm saying is, I would spend a lot less time out in front of Nancy's home, in my opinion, and more time out in the field, and maybe once a day stop by Nancy's house for about 30 minutes, just so that the people know there are still people coming here that care about what happens to Nancy. You know what I mean? That would speak volume. And then hit that path again, you know. Go search for what you're trying to, for trying to locate Nancy, you know. But I think it's coming to a point now where people are just like they're tired, and I understand that. So there's no, I mean, I don't take anything personal from the neighbors of Nancy's that how they feel like their lives have been turned upside down. I mean, think of the family, Guthrie family, whose lives have been turned upside down. But I do get it. I do get it. And once again, a lot of this could have been controlled by the sheriff. You know, people want to talk about, well, look, public road, and it's a public road, and you can't tell us we can't park here. And then what happened? They told them they couldn't park there. You know, public or not, you cannot park in here. Well, then everybody, had to find parking spots, and then, they would drop off all their stuff, put their tents up, and then they kept that place nice and clean. It wasn't like they were making a mess. They kept their place nice and clean. My point is, the sheriff always has the best interest of. He's supposed to have the best interest of the people, because that's who he serves, is the people, especially of that county. And he could have done things differently instead of making it like some spectacle. Now, maybe he didn't think it was going to get out of hand. Maybe he didn't think it was going to be that, like, how can I say that, really, like, exacerbated. All for good reason. Don't misunderstand me. All for good reason. But maybe he didn't feel it was going to get that exacerbated, and it had. And so I would, if it was me telling any of my people that I knew that were out there, I would say, look, guys, stop by in the morning, maybe for 30 minutes. Go try to find Nancy. Come back, maybe, middle of the day, or when you're gonna take a lunch or whatever, and come back and in the evening, and be out there in 30 minutes, and then go, you know, because then people still see you, and they still know people are not letting this case go, and that speaks volume, you know. Rather than having words with these neighbors and saying all this stuff, sometimes it just doesn't seem like it's not doing anybody any justice. Song says, "Wonder who all was at Annie's that night." You know, honestly, the only thing that I have heard was that it was literally. This is what I've heard. I could be wrong. When I say I heard, it's just thing information and whatnot. But that it was Annie, Nancy's daughter, Tommaso, the son-in-law, their son, I believe, and Nancy. That's it. 4 people. That's what I've been hearing, is 4 people that were there. And I'm not so sure about the son even. I mean, the son's fairly younger, but I mean, I'm not sure he was down there playing games, and I would assume he was, because you have to remember, the next day, February 1st, if I'm not mistaken, was literally Nancy's birthday. If I'm not mistaken, February the 1st was Nancy's birthday. And I could be wrong on that, but I know it's pretty damn close. And it could have been a thing where they wanted to go ahead and have dinner and play games and hang out and talk because, hey, it's mom's birthday, it's grandma's birthday, whatever. So, yeah, that's what I've heard. Now, I'm not sure that is 100% spot on, but I think it's pretty damn close. So, yeah, it's just interesting how it all comes together, It's interesting to see how this is all falling in itself, how it's all coming together. But there's a lot happening behind the scenes that I can tell you as a law enforcement officer. There's a lot happening that we just don't see, and you won't see. When you're going to know that someone's being arrested is when you see that red letters of breaking news on your TV stating, hey, they just got a suspect. They just went ahead and picked up this individual. That's when you're going to know, okay, they got somebody. We can have our theories. We can have our ideas. We can have our opinions. We can have our own, try to find our own reasons why and how come. But at the end of the day, you have to remember, that's the only time you're going to see them with the suspect is when they literally, it comes across your screen in red big letters, red and white letters saying, breaking news. There has been a person of interest arrested for this crime. You know. But the good thing about talking about it is we're all trying to figure it out. So we're all bouncing stuff off each other. We're all trying to figure it out. That's what makes the difference. Because the more people keep it alive, the more they realize they have to solve this somehow, some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, it's going to be a sore spot with the people who live there and with people how they look at law enforcement. That's just the reality. So that's where we're at there. Good question. Appreciate that. That was a very good question. But that's what I've heard, that those are the only four people. Annie, Tomasco, the son, and Nancy. That's it. You know. So what else do we have? Well, you go on. Now, there's been a lot of links of a lot of these people that have played a role or been identified with or has been literally somehow affiliated with one another. There's been a lot of people that have put things all like, there's like, they're all intertwined, if you will, you know? And in some way, like one knows somebody, the other one knows somebody, the other one knows somebody. So it does say that there is a lot, and I mean a lot. This is what makes it so crazy. There is so much out there that you're looking at this going, oh my God, like everybody seems to be affiliated. I mean, you know, we have theories of satanic cults that did this, you know, because of the what I would call the you know, the couple that came that was real gothic, you know, and they came down there and they went ahead and they literally were doing photo shoots and everything, and then you find out who knows who, and my God, when you start hearing all that, it's like really out there, really out there. So that's what I can tell you, and it is interesting to see, like when you see that, you're like, oh my God, like how many people literally are involved. This is why I was telling you all that I really believe there's at a minimum three people, one man or two men, one woman, in my opinion, that are involved. Now, I don't know, but that's where we're at. So, moving right along. So, what else we have? We have, um, we're waiting to hear back on the DNA. We're waiting to hear back on anything of these people. But I will tell you this: some of the stuff that people that I have talked about as far as person of interest, you know, not that they did anything wrong, but literally, you know, like there really are people of interest. Okay, those people, literally, I don't believe we're ever going to hear anything until they make an arrest, until the FBI makes an arrest, because that's all that's left, literally, with some of these suspects, or let me rephrase that, some of these person of interest. That's all that's left is to make an arrest, right? But they have to have all their ducks in a row. You got to have all your information in line. You got to have everything together, because if you don't, then that little nugget that you were looking for may be the reason why everything went south. So you want to make sure you have everything. You want to make sure your case is solid. Now, it is very hard to literally get a conviction without a body. That is most definite. I mean, it could still be done. But you have to have witnesses. You have to have statements. You have to have, I mean, you have to have confessions. You have to have a lot of things, you know, or some of those things that people will look at and go, this is without a doubt, because there has been people convicted before without finding or having a body. It just doesn't happen very often at all. And that's going back to the 1865. Back, I'm talking going way back. There's only been, a handful of people that have been convicted. When I mean a handful, I'm talking, probably less than 1,000, probably less than 500 in all that time, you know. But that's because, with the technology today that we have, the information that we possess, there should be no reason why we can't figure this out. And let me remind everybody, look what's in front of you. Take the information you have in front of you. Because sometimes it's right there in front of you. And we may be looking at all these things around that have nothing to do with anything. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's right in front of you. Sometimes it's not what you see, it's what you don't see. It's not what you didn't see, it's what you don't see. You know? Take something out of the equation and does it fit the narrative? Put it in the equation and does it fit the narrative? You know? For example, take the victim out of the blue car. You have 3 people now. Oh, well, everything looks kosher. Put that person back in the car and now it doesn't look kosher no more. Right? That's what I'm saying. Sometimes it's not so much what you see, it's literally what you can foresee by adding and removing, if it's plausible. And I'm telling you, that's plausible. That is possible. But I really want to know is, I told you guys say this, I can't beat this drum anymore, but when did the 911 call come in? How long did it take the police to find this blue vehicle? How many people were in that vehicle? When did Luke Daly total his blue Dodge Charger? When did he buy his Range Rover? Now, the one thing I didn't say to you here is when they brought the warrant, okay? When they gave Luke Daly and his mom the search warrant to look in their home and look in Luke's truck, the very first thing that Luke says when the cops walk up to his truck, the very first thing he says is this about the Nancy Guthrie case? Now, I'm sure most of us have been stopped for speeding or something in our lifetime, right? Picture a cop stopping you. And the first thing when he stops you and he walks up to your car, the very first thing he says is this about the Nancy Guthrie case? Does that make sense to you? Think about that. Is this about the Nancy Guthrie? Why in the hell would you say, is this about the Nancy Guthrie case? I mean, did I speed? Did I not use my blinkers? Did I not use my turn signals? Did I do a roll stop? Officer, what was the reason you stopped? I'm just curious. No. The thing that was stated by him himself was, is this about the Nancy Guthrie case? And then when the officer tells them they're going to search the vehicle and they ended up taking the vehicle, they had it for about 4 to 5 hours, as well as interviewing and interrogating Luke Daly and his mother for about 4 to 5 hours before they finally ended up letting them go and then releasing the vehicle. When all that, the officer, he then tells the officer, when the officer says, okay, we're going to have to look in your vehicle and search it, about here's the warrant, or here's the search warrant. What do they say? Luke Daly says, well, if you want, you can look at my phone too. I didn't have it with me Saturday. It was at my house. I didn't take it with me. Hello? Red flags all over the damn place. And now you go, well, how did that information come about? Just exactly like how I told you. Because then later he's taken a lot of heat from a lot of people that he had something involved in Nancy's abduction and whatnot. This is what he's claiming. And then He goes on a crime reporters and does an interview with probably one of the biggest crime reporters in Tucson, which is Brianna Whitney. He goes on her channel to do a interview to let the people know he had nothing to do with this. He comes in, shirt is all buttoned to the top, sleeves are all long sleeves, all the way tight around his wrist, almost like he doesn't want to show any tattoos, doesn't want to show anything. He comes in, he has shaved his freshly shaved goatee, his mustache, giving a different picture. Then he comes in there and she asks him those questions. Why is it that you said the first thing you said to the officers was this about Nancy Guthrie? And his response was, oh, well, my mom has been watching a lot of what's going on, and so I just thought it was about that. Really? I mean, think about it. If my mom watches all my children, I'm not going to ask, the cop, hey, is this about all my children? Think about it for a minute. I'm going to ask the common sense thing. Officer, did I speed? Did I not use my blinkers? Hey, officer, what did I do? Man, what did I do wrong? Not, is this about the Nancy Guthrie case? Not my phone. You can look at my phone. I didn't have it with me that day. Now, think about this. We live in a world today where everybody carries predominantly a cell phone, right? We all carry a cell phone. I mean, even little kids carry a cell phone, which I think is crazy. But even little kids carry cell phones, okay? We live in a cell phone world. The days that we don't go to school, or the days we don't go to work, or the days that we just literally relax and it's our time is what? It's the weekend. Everybody waits for that weekend. But some reason, he's going to tell the officer, I didn't have my phone with me. You can look at it because I didn't have it with me. It was in my room Saturday night. How are you going to contact each other? How are you going to talk to your friends? Because we all know we get calls from each other, right? A lot of people get calls from each other. How is that even remotely believable? In my opinion. It's just my opinion. You follow what I'm saying? It makes no sense. Nothing. Zero. In the world we live in today, that's not the norm. I hate to say, but that isn't the norm. And you all know it. That's not normal. So you add all that stuff into play. You add all that information to play. You add all that things that he has said, the things that he has confirmed in his interview. Then he goes and does another interview. Okay, he goes and has another interview so that he can maybe do better in that interview and does just as horribly again. Of course, he lawyers up. He gets a lawyer, which he should have done at the very beginning. You know what I'm saying? Story says, I would be lost with my cell phone. 3/4 of America would be lost with their cell phone. I mean, try putting it down for a day and see how long you go without grabbing it again. I bet it's less than maybe a minute and you'll go back to grab it. Why? Because that's just the human nature in today's world. You know what I'm saying? So the reality that he's saying all these things only digs his hole even deeper. So when I hear this man say, everybody thinks I did it, everything I thinks that I had a part in this and that, and blah, 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 and Nancy Guthrie's taking blah, 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 abduction and this. Dude, you did it to yourself. You literally did it to yourself. My God, the somebody didn't hit you. You ran out and jumped right in front of it. You did it to yourself, literally. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I am still stuck on this car theory, because I haven't had anybody be able to debunk it. And look, if anybody can debunk it, and I'll be like, hey, cool. I want to think of something else. Okay, I have other ideas and things, but this is the one that really I keep coming back to. And it makes perfectly sense to me. You're going down the road. The woman reaches outside the window, starts screaming for help. The driver says, shut her up or we're going to get in trouble. Kapow! Shut up! Whatever. Boom! Her heart can't take it. She then literally passes. Everybody goes into a hysteria because that wasn't the plan. The plan was to go ahead and get a ransom. But now that's gone. And now we're looking at literally murder. We're looking like, whether it's involuntary murder or not, you're looking at murder. And now we're looking at some serious time. Now we got to hurry up and get rid of this because, oh my God, if someone heard this, we're going to get caught. You follow where I'm going? To me, that is so simply logical. Then they come back later in the morning, like at 2-3 hours later, grab the body. They know where it's at. Throw it back in the car, take off somewhere where it's a remote area, and that's it. That's the end of that. I mean, you understand? It's very plausible, and no one is talking about it. That's why I want to know those time frames. That's why I want to know who took that vehicle, who towed it, what insurance company had it towed. Because if they can find that vehicle, they can do DNA testing if it's not already smashed. They can do testing. They can do forensics on it. If they were checking to see if this vehicle was a total loss, then that means they had to determine if it was a total loss. It probably still has areas where you can check, right? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he did it by no means. I'm not saying he did it. I'm saying the evidence and the things that we're seeing, and it's not always what you see, it's what you don't see. That could be the backbreaker. And yet no one has come out and given a definite day of when that accident happened, when that blue car was totaled, who was in that blue car, what time was the 911 call. I mean, you know what I'm saying? There's just so much there. So much there. So that's where we're at. That's why I'm so hell-bent on finding out that information. And if any one of you get any information, let me know. Please email me. You should have my email. Email me. It'll be in my bio. I'll put it in the bio. You can email me. Let me know any information that comes your way. Okay? Because I would like for somebody to close that door. Because as long as it's open, there's always that thought of what if. So that's, if you want to know why I am so hell-bent on it, that's why. The other issues, literally, well, they go to, you have to look at this people of interest, and you have to look at who would you really go ahead and who would you think could have possibly done this. Who could have possibly done this? And you have to ask yourself, is it probable? Is it possible? And that's when you get to the point of trying to decipher this information. So I just glad I had everybody here. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. It really doesn't cost you nothing. It doesn't cost you anything. It just lets us build our channel and get you all involved in having this discussion. You guys got any comments, anything? If I missed anybody's name who came on here, I do apologize. I try to get everybody I can and give them their kudos because you all deserve that for being here. So I'm going to keep on this. I'm going to be doing some homework, trying to figure out what other avenues could have taken place. But if you go look and you watch these streamers who are in front of Nancy Guthrie's home, you may learn some things, but you will also see the discontent of a lot of things of people there. And sometimes it's better just to narrow your time. You know, you can still show your presence. You just don't have to be there all day. So with that, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of you. I thank you, every one of you who subscribed. I hope you guys will continue to come back. I will be on live again tomorrow in the morning, probably about 9 a.m. Eastern time. So if you're in Arizona, you're 2 hours difference from us. So make sure that you get on and tell me what you guys have figured out. And if you like this stream, tell me. Hey, I really find it informative. I really like it. I like what's going on. Because this is all about everybody. It's not about me. I'm just a mouthpiece. You guys are all the pieces, literally, that make it happen. So with that, God bless you. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe for free. With that, God bless you. And as I always say, everything is common sense. Everything is common sense. It's not always what you see. Sometimes it's what you don't see. Literally. Semper Fi.